usually the adversity is you're overcoming the previous year, which he would be doing, and a 70-point game.
70 burgers.
On game day morning, they showed a ton of stats about how well the Broncos have been playing over the 6-game stretch. And I said, basically, there's no question we've seen defenses play like this over a 6-game stretch. But maybe it's the first time in the history of the NFL that a defense is playing like this over a 6-game stretch after giving up a 70-point game.
Yeah, pretty much.
Back here on the Rich Eisen Show, on our radio show, and one of our listeners just called in and said, viewers just called in to say, does Sean Payton deserve Coach of the Year if the Broncos make the playoffs? I mean, right now, the other ones you would talk about are D'Amico Ryans, whose Texans got beat yesterday, but there's still more time, obviously. I had Dan Campbell going into the season. They just slipped up.
So he's the favorite still, Dan
Stefanski,
Campbell.
I mentioned the other day, and now, it looks like they might be on to Flacco, right? Or back to P.J. Walker, as DTR got concussed in the loss in Denver. And then you look at Denver's schedule. How big is this game at Houston?
Huge.
Massive.
This weekend.
Massive.
Right?
You got to think the loser of that, outside looking in.
Well,
on the
the loser of that,
maybe?
if you're looking at wild cards, which I think Denver is in Kansas City's West, and now the Texans are 2 games behind Jacksonville in the South, you're talking wild card paths to the playoffs. That's huge.
Yeah.
And then there's still 2 games between the Chargers and Broncos left. That's huge. They visit Detroit, which could be on NFL Network on a Saturday. That's big. I'll be calling for sure the Christmas Eve night game in Denver against New England, winnable. At Vegas. Hey, man, if Denver finishes up like 12-6, how do you not give, 11-6, pardon me, 11-6, or 12-5 would be them winning out. 11-6? You give Sean Payton Coach of the Year, and Russ is now redeemed after they start 1-3.
Sean Payton's
1-4.
Sean Payton has the 7th best odds on FanDuel right now.
So let's play that Russell Wilson soundbite. This is him about how better this team is for having the losing ways this season.
Yeah, I think first of all we're resilient. I think the best part about us is we've been resilient for all these games. We've played some really great teams, there's some, top echelon teams, obviously in the AFC, Kansas City, obviously, Buffalo on the road, which is a tough environment. And then, obviously Cleveland's been, great all year against a great defense and everything else. I think the best thing about us, though, is it's about us.
There you go. Which, by the way, I think should be a new drop for us. The best thing about us
is us.
Is us.
I don't know what that means.
You know what it means? Here's what it means. President
Wilson. The best thing about us, though, is it's about us.
Hey, we got it.
About us.
I think what it means is I think President Wilson is back at the podium after a year away. When last year the podium was all just him coming up there and having to fight through the awful result, many of them his own misery involved, and him then saying, Broncos country, let's ride, and walking off. And everyone's just like, he's just not.
That's right.
Like what's happened to Russ?
He's a robot. Yeah.
And now President Wilson is back at the podium talking about the state of his team.
The best thing about us, though, is it's about us.
Yeah.
You've
got nothing to fear but fear itself is basically, that's the football version of that. The best thing about us is us.
I mean, I know Sean Payton got a lot of grief for what he said in the preseason about the previous regime, but now you're kind of looking at things and going, was he right?
Well, I mean, look, we all no.
You got to put a whole new
thing about that.
in.
Excuse me. The thing about that was never about whether he was right. It was whether he was wrong to say it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
so and then the 1-4 start allowed the pylon to hit. But now they're 6-5, and if they go to Houston and beat them, they would be 7-5, having leapt ahead of the Texans and the Bills, who they already have a tiebreak against. And the Bengals are on a new quarterback, and the Raiders are on a rookie quarterback, they could 100% separate themselves. And now they've beaten the Browns. They have a tiebreak on them. The Broncos are in really good shape.
Yep.
And Sutton is catching it, and you know, the run is, you know, the last couple of games, the run hasn't been all that great. And now they're putting kids on the back of sheep, and it's running all over the place.
That was nuts.
I mean, Broncos country, let's ride. Figuratively and literally
the
a
back
sheep.
Of sheep.
That's right.
They used to be the sheep, and now kids are riding them.
It was crazy.
And President Wilson is back.
The best thing about us, though, is it's about us.
That is the new slogan for RES Consulting. Right there.
Let's ride.
Let's ride.
Is this President Wilson a new thing? Because I don't recall ever hearing this.
No, I mean, just like, you know, he would stand up there, give you the state of the Seattle Seahawks address.
It's like super
And then, you know,
generic.
he started out as aw shucks, one of those rookies that's
Go
learning how to
Hawks.
become a vet, and then a vet that's dominating, and then a vet who's got a trophy. And then, you know, and then he goes to Denver, and that all falls flat. Now he's back there.
Man, people are writing Russ off, man.
Damn straight.
He's cooking.
He didn't write back.
Just like Geno. Is he comeback player of the year?
Russ? No.
Hey, if Geno came back from the bench, he's come back from what, excommunication.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, Sean Payton told us why
Actually,
that was.
he's 34-1, Russell Wilson.
Comeback player of the year?
Yeah.
See, people are even thinking it's possible.
It's DeMar Hamlin, Tua, Josh Dobbs coming up next
Right?
hour.
He's coming back for one of the worst Subway commercials of all time.
Now, that is
Right?
true.
Lamar
Those
Jackson and
were-
Aaron Rodgers.
Those
are
were
ahead of him.
Who's ahead of Aaron Rodgers? Would be comeback player of the year just for coming back?
20-1. I mean, maybe he comes back next week and
Who's
you guys
making
win a
these
few
odds?
games. FanDuel, very respected.
Who's number one right now on
that? DeMar Hamlin is -1.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of goes without saying. But
wow.
Yeah, kind of wild.
Best thing about us is us.
It's us.
Broncos country.
That's right.
Let's do it. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.